know those brands that are just so easy to fall in love with and you just really enjoy following and buying from and just being involved with, because there's a strength to the brand. There's something about their identity that's very strong and it's consistent and cohesive, and you just feel like you really know what this brand's all about. They've got this really strong identity and it's easy to relate to them and feel a connection to them. Well, it may have got you thinking, well, how do I create a strong brand? How do I create that kind of feeling with my own brand? So in today's video, we're going to look at 11 things that make a brand a strong brand. So in today's video, we're going to look at 11 different things that make a brand strong so that you can think about ways you can strengthen your own brand identity and create a stronger and stronger brand that people are going to love. We all have those brands that we love, brands that have really strong identities that are very memorable and recognizable. And even if you don't personally feel a connection with the brand, you can tell that it has a very strong identity because there's something very recognizable about it. There's something about it that just really stands out, and it just feels very consistent and cohesive, and it just really has this strong identity. It doesn't feel wishy-washy or uncertain or like it's trying to appeal to too many people. It just feels so direct and like it really just knows itself and it has confidence. You can just feel that in that brand. So how do we achieve that with our own brand? First of all, a strong brand is going to have a clear and connected audience. So they're going to be very certain about who it is that they serve and who they're trying to attract. And they're going to be working hard to connect with that audience. They're not just putting things out there for them, but they're really thinking about how can we create a deeper connection with this audience. They're really going to spend time getting to know them and connecting with them, creating community around their brand. So if your target audience is too broad, if you're constantly changing your target audience, going, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this niche, or maybe I should try this niche, and so it becomes all over the place and people are a bit unsure about who you actually serve. Or if you're just not really connected with your audience, if you've just picked out a particular audience but you never really create connections with them, you never really get to know them properly and find out what they're actually struggling with and what they actually need, and having conversations with them and creating community around your brand, then that could be an area that you need to work on, because a strong brand is really going to be clear and connected to that audience. The next one is attention to detail. This means that you really consider everything. You consider every touch point with your audience. You consider every little thing that's going to go in front of people. You think about the way you speak, the way you look, the way you behave. You're really making sure that everything is considered and that you're not missing out on things. Obviously, if you're just a one-person business and you don't have a team to help you make sure you cover everything, then it could be something that you progressively get better and better at, where you might notice, hang on, I don't think I've really branded that particular thing so much. How can I improve that? And constantly trying to think about all those little details and how you can really make sure that every touch point, every element of your brand is considered and all has that consistent and cohesive brand voice and identity. The next one is being authentic and relatable. Now, I feel like these words get a bit overused and so people get a bit sick of hearing these things, but it's just about being real. It's about not just putting this professional facade on and trying to look like this wonderful professional business when you are just a small business. And when it comes to small online businesses, especially creative businesses, people really want to get to know the person behind the brand. They really want to connect with you and feel like they can trust you. So it's really important to not just put on this facade of trying to look this perfect and professional all the time, but show the behind the scenes, really talk to your audience like they're your friends rather than you're looking down on them or anything like that. You really want to be more real and relatable and really connect with your audience. So this is sort of about letting go of perfectionism so much, not feeling like you constantly have to show up super perfect and everything put together and wonderful, but show those moments behind the scenes, or talk about struggles that you might be going through, and talk about how you can relate to your audience. Like, I've been through what you've been through in the past. Tell stories, things like that, so that people can feel a deeper connection with you and you don't feel like this cold business that they just can't relate to and can't really understand. Think of it more like a friendship, because when you're a small creative business, you want to be creating more of a friendship with your audience rather than just simply transactions. Next thing that creates a strong brand is creating experiences that people want to be part of. So whatever you're creating, whatever you're offering, make sure that you're creating a bit of an experience to it. You're not just simply giving somebody a product or a service, but you're really thinking about how they're experiencing that. and make it, so exciting that they want to be part of that, that they learn about what your service is or your product is and see the experience behind it, and they're like, oh, I want some of that. That looks so exciting, so fun. It really draws them in because the experience side of it is just so awesome too. So it's not just that finished product, but really think about the whole journey with your customer. So not just to the things that they're paying for, but also free things. Anytime you're connecting with your audience in any way, whether it's through your content or free things, or whether it's paid services or paid products, making sure that the experience is really great and constantly thinking about how you can improve the experience. How can you create more and more of an experience that people are like, I want to be part of this because, the experience is such a great thing. So if you're selling products, you might want to think about the packaging and the whole process of receiving that product. And then if you're providing a service, think about the whole client relationship and how you can make that process of how they work with you and go through the process more of an experience. And then when it comes to your content, think about how you can create more of experience with it. Maybe you do, special promotions or special events. You could do exciting series, just different things where you're creating a bit more of an experience to what you put out there. Next is making sure that your brand is visually compelling. So really understanding what's going to appeal to your audience visually and making something that's going to be exciting, not a brand that's really boring and generic looking, but something that's going to excite your audience visually. They're going to think, this is really beautiful, this is really appealing, and they sort of want a piece of it. They want to own a bit of it because it's just so beautiful and it really appeals to them. And it doesn't feel like it's just like everything else they're seeing out there. There's something a little bit different to it. And it's just exciting. The next one, and a really, really important one when it comes to creating a strong brand identity, is consistency. Now, consistency is so important in so many factors of business, and especially if you want to create a strong brand, because if you're all over the place, even like I said with that first one, with if your audience keeps changing, or if you find yourself constantly chasing trends and 1 minute your brand has this particular feel to it, but then, oh, there's this trending audio I want to use, or this trending style that's really cool right now, or this particular color that everyone's using, oh, I want to start using that. If you're constantly changing things up and not being consistent and not sticking to your brand identity and, being really firm and confident in the identity that you have and just sticking to it, then you're going to leave people confused, and it's not going to make your brand recognizable or memorable because it just seems all over the place and a big mess. Which relates to our next one, which is having a cohesive style. So making sure that every element of your brand is all cohesive. Everything works together. There's nothing that feels off, that doesn't feel like it relates or connects. So that's why it's really important to start with some brand strategy. Get a real clear idea about what it is you're communicating about your brand, who you're communicating it to, the feelings that you want to try and create, and making sure that you're creating that same communication and feeling across everything that you do. So the way that you speak, your written word, the way that you look, the sounds that you use, the experience that you're creating for people, everything is cohesive and it all feels like it connects together and nothing feels jarring or off or feels somehow inconsistent to everything else that people experience with your brand. Another thing a strong brand is going to have is a purpose and a mission. It's trying to achieve something. It's not just, oh, I just wanted to sell this because I just felt like it, but there's more meaning behind it. So there's a bit more of a purpose and a drive behind what you're doing. There's more story to it too then, because there's a reason why you decided to do what you're doing. You have certain goals in mind. You wanted to serve a particular audience because you feel a certain way about that audience, and it has more meaning to you. It's not just you randomly picked out things like just randomly out of the air going, right, I'm going to create ceramic mugs for mums. But no reason why, no connection to them. You just suddenly felt like that's what you were going to do, or you saw some other business doing really well with that, so oh, they've done well with that, so I think I'll do that too. That's kind of a meaningless brand because there's no real heart behind it, and people want to connect with that heart behind it, that you really had a reason why this really touched you, why this is important to you, and why you feel that you need to be putting this out into the world. So our next one is having strong values. So really being clear about what your brand values are and actually playing them out, not just writing them on your website saying, our brand values this and that, but everything that you do in your behavior, in your brand identity, in the content you put out, in your services or products, everything you do, the way you run your business, the way you make decisions in your business, everything goes back to those values, and make sure that those values are always carried through. And people are going to feel that strength in those values and that you really do live them, and your business is serious about them. And so if people have similar values, they're going to feel attracted to that brand. And it's going to feel like a strong brand because it says this is what we stand for, and they really do act that out. They're not just saying it. Then we have having a point of difference. So it's really important with your brand that you have some kind of point of difference. Otherwise, how are you different from any other kind of brand in the same industry? So it doesn't have to be this super different thing where it's like, whoa, I've never seen that before, that's so different. It's just about having some kind of point of difference. It could be that you serve a slightly different audience to most, or that you have a particular style that's a little bit different. There's just got to be some sort of element to it that's a little bit different so that it differentiates you. It could even be your own personality, so you really bring your personality to your brand, and that's going to set you apart because, well, there is only one of you. So just thinking about how you're making your brand a little bit different. How are you differentiating yourself from everything else that's out there? And finally, trustworthiness and quality. So people are going to see strength in a brand that is trustworthy, one that they can trust and know that if they buy from them, if they interact with them, that they can trust that brand, that it's not pretending to be something that it isn't, it's not poor quality, that it actually does stand by its values, that it provides good quality and isn't trying to shortchange people. You really need to build up that trust and make sure that everything you do is of quality. So you could spend hours picking out fonts, designing a logo, and picking those perfect colors, but people aren't looking for just a pretty looking brand. They're not just after nice visuals. They want a brand with more depth and meaning behind it, and something that they can trust and feels like a really strong brand that they can relate to. You don't want to be creating a shallow brand that just looks nice, but then there's no strength behind it. People are looking for brands that go deeper, consider everything, that are trustworthy, and that they feel that they can connect to. So I hope this got you thinking about how you can strengthen your brand further and continue to grow your brand so that you've got a stronger brand that people feel that they can really relate to and connect to and are going to want to buy from. And if you'd like to learn more about branding, graphic design, and creativity, then be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.